I never thought I'd be writing something like this on the internet, but my head has been spinning for weeks and I don't know how else to get it out. I've always been the kind of person who puts their head down, works hard, and tries to keep the peace. I thought that if I just did my job well and stayed out of trouble, everything would fall into place. Turns out, that's not how the world works. I worked at this mid-sized company for 6 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and stability mattered to me. My role was somewhere between office management and compliance, which basically meant I was responsible for making sure things ran smoothly behind the scenes. One of my key responsibilities was being the key holder for the financial lockbox. Sounds boring, but every year when the auditors came through, they had to go through me. I was the one with the keys, the records, and the knowledge of how everything tied together. For the first 5 years, everything was fine. I never had stellar performance reviews, but I never had bad ones either. My boss, let's call him Dave, was the kind of guy who could talk circles around anyone. He loved the spotlight, loved being the guy in charge, and loved to make himself look like the smartest person in the room. I didn't mind it too much because I don't like the spotlight anyway. And honestly, if he wanted to take the credit for smooth audits and paperwork being in order, I was fine with that. I got my paycheck, I had my little corner of stability, and that was enough. This year was different. The company had been under pressure. We'd lost a couple of major contracts, and corporate had been breathing down Dave's neck. He started having sudden meetings with us, throwing around phrases like performance optimization and cost-cutting measures. It made everybody nervous. I kept telling myself I'd be fine. I was one of the people who kept the foundation together. You can't just throw away the person who literally holds the keys. I should have seen it coming though. About a month before the annual audit, Dave started acting weird toward me. He'd nitpick small things in emails, like formatting or wording, stuff he'd never cared about before. He pulled me into his office once and asked me if I'd ever thought about expanding my career elsewhere. I laughed it off, thinking it was some strange attempt at pep talk, but looking back, it was a warning shot. Fast forward to audit week. The deadline was Friday at 5 p.m. All year long, I keep files and records ready, because I know what's coming. It's stressful, but I've never failed at it. Thursday morning, I walk in like normal, coffee in hand, ready to double-check everything one more time before the auditors arrived. Around 10 a.m., Dave calls me into his office. I walk in and see HR sitting there with a folder. My stomach dropped immediately. They told me I was being terminated effective immediately. No clear reason. Just vague words about restructuring and going in a new direction. I sat there stunned. I asked if I'd done something wrong, if there was a problem with my performance. They danced around it. The only thing Dave said directly to me was, "Sometimes we have to make tough choices, and this is one of them." I didn't fight it. Honestly, I was too shocked to even form proper sentences. I gathered my things, turned in my badge, and walked out of the building I had basically dedicated 6 years of my life to. That night, I sat in my apartment with boxes of my desk stuff around me, just numb. How could they do this the day before the audit? Did they forget that I was the one who had the keys? The next day, I started getting texts from coworkers. Apparently, the auditors showed up as usual and asked for the key holder. Nobody knew what to say. Dave had to admit that he fired me less than 24 hours earlier. The auditors were stunned. They asked who had the keys, who had the knowledge, who could walk them through the files. Nobody did. Dave tried to scramble, but he didn't even know where half the records were kept. It turned into a complete disaster. Later, one of my friends in the office called me and told me that the auditors basically tore him apart. They flagged missing files, inconsistent records, and gaps that I would have been able to explain if I had been there. At one point, one of the auditors even asked point blank, "Why would you fire your compliance manager the day before an audit?" Dave didn't have an answer. He apparently turned red and blamed staffing changes. It was humiliating for him, but honestly, hearing that didn't make me feel better. It just made me angrier. I had given years of my life to that place. Nights staying late, weekends checking files, making sure nothing slipped through the cracks. I wasn't flashy about it, but I cared. And the thanks I got was being thrown out the door 24 hours before the most important day of the year. For what? So Dave could look like he was making bold changes to corporate? So he could cut a salary and look efficient on paper? The kicker is, people have been reaching out to me since then, saying that corporate is furious. The audit went so badly that the higher-ups are now investigating Dave's decisions. There's even talk that he might lose his position over this. Some people have been saying it's karma, that he got what he deserved. But I don't feel triumphant. I just feel hollow. Because at the end of the day, I'm still the one sitting here unemployed, scrambling to figure out what comes next, while the guy who fired me gets to keep collecting a paycheck until someone else finally pulls the plug on him. I keep replaying it in my head, wondering if I should have seen the signs sooner. If I should have confronted him when he first started acting weird. If I should have fought harder in that HR meeting. But I also know none of it would have mattered. He had already made up his mind. To him, I was just a number on a spreadsheet, someone he could cut to look good to corporate, never mind the fact that the entire company's audit depended on me. Now I'm trying to figure out how to rebuild. I'm applying to new jobs, reaching out to old contacts, trying to keep my head above water. But it's hard not to feel betrayed. I didn't just lose a job, I lost a sense of trust in the idea that if you do good work, people will value you. Because apparently, that's not true. Apparently, loyalty and consistency mean nothing when someone wants to make themselves look like a hero. I don't know why I'm writing all of this. Maybe because I can't sleep and the anger just sits in my chest like a weight. Maybe because I want someone out there to understand what it feels like to give everything you have to a place, only to be tossed aside at the exact moment they need you the most. All I know is I feel broken, and I'm scared about what comes next. But I also know this much. If I ever get another chance at a role like that, I won't let myself believe that loyalty protects me. I'll do my job, but I won't give people like Dave the power to gut me again.